Okay, welcome everybody to our latest live interview. This is the 20th interview I've done since lockdown, so that's 2 a week for the last 10 weeks. So if you've watched every single one, then well done. You deserve a medal for joining us. And tonight we've got Mimi Anderson, and we've not met before, Mimi, but I've been looking forward to meeting with you. And thank you very much for being willing to give up an hour or so of your time and to share with us. And hopefully there'll be people who'll come on and ask some questions, and we've got some photos to look at, and I'm sure we can fill the hour without much problem at all.
No, it's lovely to be here.
Yeah, but first of all, maybe you can just tell us as people join us, just what life is like for you in this lockdown. Is it much different, or how are you finding it?
I'm actually finding it all right. Actually, it's sort of I don't have any children at home now. They've all grown up and left the nest, which is actually quite nice. So it's just myself and my husband, and he works from home anyway. So we both sort of work from home. So that hasn't changed. But I have been doing a lot more sort of cycling. I did take up a hula hoop challenge.
Oh, right.
I decided that I was going to do. I know, stupid, isn't it? Well, I had this hula hoop. I got this hula hoop after America because I couldn't do anything. So I thought, well, I can do some sort of exercise. So I've got this weighted hula hoop. And it sat in a cupboard, actually. I used it a couple of times and thought, this is really quite dull. So I thought, right. Somebody said, why don't you set up a hula hoop challenge over 30 days? So it starts with 5 minutes and builds up to 30 minutes. And so I did it with silly hats on, and loads of people did it. Kids, my grandchildren did it. So yeah, so I've kept myself quite busy, and I've just started open water swimming again, which is quite nice. And playing golf, because of course I think in Scotland you can just about start playing golf now, can't you? I think it's just started. So down here we've been able to play it now for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think we're a week or so behind in Scotland with the sort of regulations. But I think from tomorrow people are able to play golf as long as they keep their distance and follow the rules and things. Yeah.
I know. Well, I sort of, you're less play with one person, but no. So I've actually really enjoyed it. Actually, I've been doing some running, lots of cycling. But I did my cycling actually initially just in very sort of 30-mile loops, very close to where I live in case something happened. And then I spent a lot of time on Zwift actually. This virtual world where you can cycle and you can run as well. Yeah, loved it. You get race, everything.
Yeah. Is that the one where you've got a screen and you can see where you are in relation to other people?
Yes, so you're this avatar. My avatar is pink, and I've actually got a pink bike now, which is quite good. Nice. So it's quite fun. You can do meetups, so you can meet up with groups of people, and you can race together, and you can do proper races and things, which is, it's quite nice, actually. It's quite a fun thing to do.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we've got a few people joining us, Mimi, and I'm sure others will come along as they realise it's on. And if people are with us, if you want to say hello and maybe how you know Mimi, that would be great. And if you've got any questions that you want me to ask her, then put them in the comments and I'll bring those on. Now, I looked on your website over the last few days, Mimi, marvellousmimi.com, and it's very thorough, and it's all pink, which is very distinctive.
Yeah.
But it talks about the fact that you specialise in extreme endurance events when racing, either racing or organising your own adventures, pushing the limits others impose on themselves. And this has led to a number of firsts. So the first woman to achieve a double Spartathlon in 2015, the first person to achieve a double Grand Union, that's 195 miles times twice, 2013. The only woman to have finished the Viking Way, 146 miles. The only finisher in the Cyprus Ultra. The first woman to achieve a double Comrades in South Africa, up and down with no rest, in 2009, and also a number of records. The 6633 Extreme Ultramarathon, which I'd like to chat about. So it's just incredible. So maybe you could just start by just tell us a little bit about how you got into this. I know you didn't start in your youth, did you? So tell us a little bit about how you started and how you got into the more extreme things, please.
Well, I started actually completely by accident. I'd sort of gone to the gym and things, having had children, but nothing else. And I started running actually because I wanted to have thinner legs. And somebody said that why don't you try running? So I, went to the gym, stood on a treadmill, and I have to say that was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my entire life, because it was sort of, I felt very self-conscious standing on a treadmill. I thought everybody was sort of watching me. And also I had no idea what to do. When I was 36 in 1999, the internet as it is now didn't exist. So, you couldn't click a button and ask a question. So I literally just started and thought, right, I'm going to start by running a mile. And that was quite difficult because I could, hardly do more than 30 seconds. So I built up by running and walking, and then built up to 3 miles. And then I remember friends said to me, right, come on, Mimi, we're going to go and do a run outside. And it was going to be 10 miles. And I thought, 10 miles? That's, 7 miles further than I've ever run before. But, let's give it a go.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. It was the first time I'd run outside. I just presumed everybody ran on treadmills. I had no idea that actually it was a proper thing, running outside. And it just made me have this sort of sense of freedom and elation, and I just felt fantastic when it finished. I mean, the next day I could hardly walk, but it was just that feeling of just being in the moment, just enjoying it. And so for me, that was the beginning of the running, really. And the only reason I got into long distance stuff was because one of my running mates handed me a magazine with a picture of people doing the Marathon des Sables and said, right, I think this is our next race.
Right.
And it never occurred to me that I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And in those days, again, you had to apply by post. It was ridiculous. To get more information on the race, we had to send off, and it arrived in the post.
Yeah.
And we had to apply. But again, there was no waiting list in those days. You just applied, and you could get in the following year, which is what we did. And that really was the beginning of it.
Yeah. So how quickly did you go from running that first mile to doing something like Marathon des Sables? What was the time scale?
About 18 months.
Wow. Okay. And then
18 months. It's about 18 months. Yeah.
And I assume in that time you built up. Did you do a 10K race and a marathon, or did you just jump straight into the longer?
Yeah. No, I did. I did the Hastings half marathon, and I thought I was doing really well until I got overtaken by, I think it was a Womble or somebody in a suit, and they had walked the whole course. And I was thinking, that's not right. But that was fantastic. And then I did my one and only 10K, actually, and it happened to be a 10K that is, the first 3 miles is relatively flat. The last 3 miles is all uphill. And never again. And it's so fast. I mean, people literally on the start line and off they go. And so I went up to the half marathon. That was the furthest I did, and before we entered. And then obviously we built up the training in the build up to it. Yeah.
And obviously, as you stepped up in distance, you just found you got better, or you didn't have to slow down much? Did you find you were able to cope with more and more distance?
Yeah, and I think I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed the challenge of pushing myself just that little bit further. So, when I did the marathon distance, yes, it hurts. It's not easy, but then I did enjoy doing the longer stuff. For me, it was more of a challenge, personally, going off and doing the longer stuff. I got more, I think, enjoyment and satisfaction out of doing that than doing a half marathon. I mean, I've still done several half marathons and marathons, which I also enjoyed. But I think what really ticks all my boxes is the longer stuff, which I was slightly better at. Yeah,
yeah. I assume you were working during this time as well, were you?
No, I was quite lucky. I was very lucky. My husband spent years trying to tell me to go back to work.
Okay.
I made wedding dresses and ball gowns for many years, so I did that from home. Yeah. And I went back to work for a short period of time, and so I've been quite lucky. I've been able to stay at home with the kids, which I've really enjoyed. So yeah, I've loved that.
Okay.
Didn't change it.
Yeah, we've got one waving hand from Karen Andove. Do you know Karen Ann? Is she a friend? Yeah.
Waving hand.
Yeah. So she's there, and there's a few others watching as well. So if you've got questions, please put them in, and maybe send me some photographs, which I'd love to sort of just chat through some of them, some of the ones that you've done. So we'll start with the Spartathlon, because I think this is maybe a dream of a lot of people to do the Spartathlon. It's a very famous race in Athens, 153 miles.
53.
Yeah, 153. Yeah. And most people are really content to do it, to just go there. But you like to make things difficult, don't you? And you went there and back. So just tell us a little bit about that experience, please.
Well, I think the first time I did the Spartathlon was in 2011, which is what I think the picture is. And I just remember that picture. I think my husband was taking a photograph, and it was just one of those silly moments. But I went out there. I'd met John Foden, actually. I was very lucky to have met him. I think I met him in 2004. And he kept on saying, Mimi, you've got to go and do the Spartathlon. And I said, don't be stupid, John. I'm not fast enough. I'm not fast enough to go and do the Spartathlon. And it got to the stage where I thought, actually, if I don't do it now, I'm then going to be too old. I won't be able to do it anyway. So in 2011, I went and did it literally I just wanted to finish it. I had no expectations. I literally wanted to finish it within 36 hours. And I would have been really, really happy. And I had, I think, two people supporting me, so my husband and another friend. And I ended up coming in as third female. And I have to say it was, for me, because I don't classify myself as a particularly fast runner. I really don't. I'm not slow, but I'm not particularly sort of fast. And so for me to have finished as third female, and I remember sort of coming into that finish, and when they handed out the medals and the trophies that evening, I remember sort of going up on stage, and everybody else went up on stage and was very well behaved, and took the trophy and said thank you to their ambassador, and I got mine, and I went yes like this. I was just so excited. And it was the most amazing feeling. And so I went back in 2013 to attempt the double, which, as far as I was aware, had never been done by a female before. And I obviously I was going to do the race first and then run back. Unfortunately, I didn't actually finish the race. I got to, I think, about 6 kilometers before the finish. And my body turned into this sort of ragdoll. Literally, I was bent over double. I was slurring my words. The medics had been called. I was not in a good way. And so I was timed out. And I remember I had to be taken to the finish line in a medic's car. And when I eventually managed to go to the loo, my urine was jet black. I mean, it was quite a shock, actually. But yeah, it was jet black. But I said to my crew, right, I'm going to come back in 2015 and we're going to do it again. And I was very lucky and I did it. But it is very weird doing the double because you do the race. That was really fantastic, really lovely atmosphere. I then had a few hours sleep and I set off from the statue in the morning to run all the way back to Athens. And when we got we were very close to the finish line. And of course, there are no crowds. And, so things that you don't see during the race are suddenly there. And we thought, which way do we go? Where are we supposed to go? So we ended up having to sort of get a local guide to show us how to get to the finish line. We wasted probably about 3/4 of an hour. But no, it was good. And it was an amazing thing to do.
Yeah. And you have a support crew, do you, on the second half as you're running back? Do you have someone meeting you at various places?
Yeah, I did. I had the same guys that had supported me during the race. You're allowed to have people who meet you at certain checkpoints along the race. So they were there at the finish line, and then they came with me. So sometimes they ran with me, sometimes they didn't. We went through the night. There was one stage actually where I literally fell asleep as I was running. And one of my support crew had to physically hold me up by my top. And he said, Mimi, wake up, keep walking, keep going. And he got me to my support crew and he says, she's gone. She's absolutely gone. She needs 20 minutes. And so they put me in the front seat and they just walked away and were absolutely silent. I was out like that. up to that. And then I woke up 20 minutes later, and I said, you were so noisy. I didn't have 20 minutes at all. Anyway, and off I went again. It was absolutely fine. But it was just that being totally dead on your feet. Nothing. There was nothing going on in my brain at all at that stage.
Right. Wow, it just seems incredible. And that's not the only one you've done, which we'll maybe come on to as well. But we've got some questions, so we'll look at these. The first one is from a lady called Lourdes. I met Lourdes. She's from Alberta, and we both did the Dragon's Back last year. And so she's been following the story, so it'll be mid-morning for her, I assume. Anyway, she says, woohoo, love to hear from extreme ladies. Fantastic achievements. And she wants to know, which was your favourite? Do you have a favourite achievement that you've done that stands out for you?
I think it's a very difficult question, that one, because every single event that I've done, even if I didn't do particularly well there, has got really sort of fond memories and things. But I think one of the things I love, or I felt that actually was a big achievement for me, was my Arctic race, so the 66:33. So that was a 352-mile race, pulling a sledge and things in the Arctic. And for me, I'd never done a cold race before, so it was a real challenge in terms of just getting the kit together. I talked to loads of people who'd done other cold events to get as much information as I could. And my plan was to go out there and do the best that I could. So I think that's one of my best achievements. Yeah.
I've heard a little bit about that one, Mimi, but I don't know too much. So 6633, is that the kilometres?
No, that is the longitude and latitude of the Arctic Circle.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's the only race that actually, because you've got the Yukon Ultra as well, but the Yukon Ultra is 500 miles further south.
Right.
So this is the only race that actually goes through the Arctic Circle. You go onto an ice road. The route is now slightly changed, but I did 120 miles on an ice road, and you finish by standing on the Arctic Ocean. I mean, imagine that. It's just, I don't know. I just thought you can't not do a race like that. Yeah. It's just, it has everything, doesn't it? It ticks all the boxes.
Yeah. And you're pulling on the sled everything you need for that race then?
Yeah, we had, we're allowed three drop bags at, obviously 3 of the main checkpoints. So in those drop bags, I would have another change of kit. I already had one in my bag already, but I'd have another spare change of kit and some more food and perhaps some fuel or something else to replenish what I had used.
Right.
So yeah, and some more trainers.
Yeah. And so time-wise, how long did it take you? How long were you out?
You had 8 days to do it in. I did it in just under 8 days, yeah. Because the temperatures are so extreme. So when we started a couple of hours later because the Mackenzie or the Dempster Highway was physically closed to any lorries going through. They closed it up and they opened it especially for us. And when it's closed, it is seriously closed. I mean, you can't get past at all. It's quite a scary environment. You are literally in the middle of, you're not in the middle of nowhere, but you can't, to bivvy out, you can't sort of go off the road because the banks of snow are so incredibly sort of high. Right. So I tended to sleep at the main checkpoints. Right. I had to bivvy out a couple of times. Which again is I couldn't take my trainers off because the laces had frozen up so much. But somebody, again, great advice, had said to me, well, take a couple of plastic bags with you, Mimi, and put your trainers, your feet into the plastic bags so they don't get your sleeping bag wet. Yeah. So that's what I did, yeah. So, but it's amazing. You're sort of going along, you're pulling the sledge, you are by yourself. And, it's at night, you've got the Northern Lights at about 2 o'clock in the morning, always came out and they played. I mean, it was like a movie set. It was beautiful. And all the noises that went on and the wolverines and, oh God, it was lovely.
Oh, you're selling it well. It sounds great. In fact, Lord S.
I know, then try.
Yeah, Lord S. has come back and said, I love hearing that. a fellow winter warrior. Fantastic, and I know she enjoys the sort of snow races and the extreme cold things as well. So, thank you very much.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And we've got a question from Joe Faulkner. Do you know Joe?
Yes. Yeah.
He's asking any regretful race moments.
Any regretful race moments? No, not really. No, because I think at the time in any race that I've done, I might not have done terribly well or whatever it is, but I did what I thought was the right thing at the time in the situation. I think you can always finish a race and think, oh, do you know, if only I'd gone a bit quicker then, or I'd done that, or I'd done this. I can't think of one. Perhaps I should. I don't know.
You don't have to.
No, I think I always felt that even if I didn't do well, I made the decision I made at the time because that's how I felt. Yeah. Yeah,
no, that's good. I'm sure if Joe's got another question, he'll come back. And we've got a question from Gwyn James. It says, hi, Mimi. Is there a race you haven't done that is on your bucket list?
Well, I once tried to do the UTMB, and it was the one that got cancelled.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gutted actually because I'm not I mean, I do love being in the mountains, but I'm not a very. I'm much better, funnily enough, at road or flat or whatever because I'm just not technically good on real technical stuff. I'd love to have had a go at Tour de Gilles, even if I'm not technically minded. I would love to have done that. And things like, the Monarch Way in the UK and the Thames Ring and things like that, I would like to have had a go at that sort of thing, yeah. And a few other races, but, can't do them anymore.
So are you saying that with your injury, it's not possible to run these long ones anymore?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, sadly, no. I mean, I think I had to make that decision in America to stop. It was the right decision because I would have caused too much damage. I mean, as it is, my knee, I can do short distances and I'm very happy with that because I didn't think I'd ever be able to run again. But I did have to go through a whole grieving process when I came back from America of not being able to run again. That was really, really hard, very hard. Yeah.
I've just put the picture on, Mimi, of you running in America. So maybe you can just tell us what happened there and how did that go?
I always refer to it as my epic failure.
Oh.
No, it's fine. I tried to break the female record for running across America, and my aim was to do it. So my route started in Los Angeles and it finished in New York and at the City Hall and in both ends. And my aim was to do it in 50 days, but I told everybody else that it was 53. I thought it would slightly take the pressure off me if I gave myself a bit of a leeway. And I was on track to do the 50 days. I probably would have done about 51, actually, to be quite honest with you, 51, possibly 52. But I was on track, and my right knee, I'd had my meniscus sorted out. I'd rehabbed it properly. Everybody was very happy with me to go. And my right leg started causing me issues. And I had so much K-tape on or rock tape on, it was absolutely killing. But my physios looked after me really well, and I never thought it was my knee actually, because my knee was never in pain. It was just everything else in the leg, the thigh, the calf, the hamstring, whatever. Anyway, eventually, I think on day 40, I did 16 very, very slow, painful miles. I mean. Didn't know what to do with myself. I mean, the build up to it, I've never experienced pain like that. If I had to get up in the middle of the night to go to the loo in my RV, I literally couldn't put any pressure on that leg. And then somehow I had to get up the next day and run 57 miles. So they decided that I had to have an MRI scan. So I went off, had the MRI scan, and I was in my running kit. I was ready to go. And, you're waiting for some miracle, I think. The doctors say, don't you worry, Mimi. Nothing at all. All we need to do is just put a bit of an injection here or do that and you'll be off. No, And basically I had no cartilage on the outside of my knee, and so it was bone on bone. And that was what the pain was. And I had bone edema, and I mean, my right leg actually was a complete and utter mess. I could barely walk, and it took me months to be able to walk properly, and months before I could walk without any pain at all. Yeah. So I made the decision to stop. Yeah. But I'd covered well over 2,000 miles in 40 days, and I was on track to get the record. I think that was the hardest thing. Yeah. But these things happen, don't they?
Yeah,
they happen.
And the thing is, if you don't try, you won't know, will you? At least you've had a go, haven't you, in the circumstances, and you gave it your best shot, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and I had a great crew, and I did. I had the courage to have a go. I felt awful because, of course, these things cost quite a lot of money. So I had sponsors and everything else. But they understood. I think had I given up because I was tired or can't be bothered, this is too much like hard work, then I think they would have gone, actually, I think we want our money back. But, I had literally tried everything to keep going. And it was the right decision. It was the toughest decision I've ever made in my entire life, but it was the right decision.
Yeah. Well, let's maybe talk about some nicer events then, rather than one that didn't think.
Yeah.
So, what about the Jungle Ultra? I don't know anything about this one at all, and it was quite intriguing. No, I don't think so. I think I've ever heard of it. So, you can.
The Jungle Ultra, fab! It's 200. I think it's 230 kilometers over 5 days in the Peruvian jungle, and again. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Because there's one in Brazil as well, but this one is beyond the ultimate, and they do a series of 4 different races. And so I just had to go there. I always wanted to go to a jungle. Yeah. I'd never been to Peru, and it was amazing. It just beautiful. One part of the race goes into the Manu National Park, so you go right up into the cloud forest, so you're overlooking this beautiful forest, and this is just, you've got the cloud over the top of it. It is magical. Wow. And then you go down into the sort of, into the canopy, and you've got snakes. Not too keen on the snakes, it has to be said, but you've got snakes. I have never seen ants everywhere, and they're all different sizes, and they're really bite you. But it is beautiful. And butterflies, when they open up their wings, they're huge, these butterflies. They open up their wings in these beautiful fluorescent blue colours, and lots of mud. There is lots of mud. Yeah.
So is that
and river crossing.
So is that a stage race? Oh, you said it's over 5 days. Yeah. So you have an overnight camp at each night, do you?
Yeah, you do. So again, like any stage race, you're doing set distances every day. Yeah. And on the longest stage, we had, and I have a fear of being out of my depth or being in fast flowing water. I have this fear of sort of water. Yeah. And on the longest stage, we had over 57 river crossings. And one of my fellow competitors, it was terrifying. Yeah. So some of them are easy. You can just wade through them. I don't have any problem with that at all. Yeah. And the first major river crossing we sort of came across was quite wide. Mm. And my heart rate, I have to say, went through the roof at this stage. I thought, I'm going to die. My whole body started sort of shaking like that. And one of my fellow competitors, Kenny, from Scotland, actually, he was lovely. He knew that I had this fear, and he was there, and he waited for me, and he took my hand, and there's a lovely picture, actually, and he took my hand, and he took me across this river, and I could have hugged him. It was terrifying doing it with him. I'm not sure I would have managed without. Anyway, bless him, he stayed with me for the rest of the day, and when we finished the race, I think I beat him by 20 minutes or something. And he said, bloody hell, Mimi, I knew I should have left you that day. I would have beat you. And it was one of the nicest things that anybody's ever done, because he didn't need to do that. So that was very special. Good.
Well, thank you to him. And then just a question on doing the continuous races or the stage races. Have you got a preference? I know some people prefer just to say it's over 5 days, and if you sleep, then that's the clock's still ticking. So have you got a preference of what you enjoy more?
I think I sort of prefer the sort of the continuous ones where you're having to decide how you're going to sort of do the actual race. So like the 6633, I quite enjoyed that because the challenge isn't just about the distance.
Yeah.
It's about how you're going to manage yourself. And so I do a mixture, actually. I mean, that was the longest I think I've sort of done. But I think I do like the longer distance stuff. I love stage races as well, but they're completely different. I like having to, I think, just manage myself a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the continuous ones, you end up a lot more on your own, don't you? Whereas the stage race, you all get back together every day and you see each other more, so they can be a bit more social, can't they? I think.
No, absolutely, and I love that aspect of it as well. You get back into camp, and people are there, and you chat about your day, and you relax, and if anybody's got any spare food, they give it to you. But the continuous ones, I'm quite happy being on my own.
Yeah.
I mean, even with some 100 milers and things, I quite like. I don't mind being on my own. I don't have a sort of a fear of that.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone else got any more questions, then feel free to bring those in. But the other photo I want to talk about a little bit is your double Badwater. Now, again, like the Spartathlon, this is on a lot of people's bucket list. It's 135 miles, and it's in really hot conditions. You hear stories of shoes getting melted on the dead valley, isn't it? So to do it once is a big achievement, but again, you've done a double, so you've gone there and back. So just tell us a bit. Yeah, have you just done this the once?
No, I've done it twice. I did it in 2005.
Right.
And again, it wasn't a race at that stage that was talked about a huge amount. I think Mark Cobain, I knew, had done it. But I didn't know a huge amount of other people that had done it because, again, there wasn't access to lots of stuff on the internet. But it was one of those races that I knew I wanted to go and do. So I qualified by doing the Grand Union Canal race in 2004. And again, we had to apply via the post. I mean, just shows how geriatric I am, doesn't it? And I got in. I was lucky enough to get a place in 2005, and I think I did it in 41 hours or something. But again, it wasn't about trying to win or do anything. I wanted to go out there and I wanted to do the best that I could in an environment that I'd never been in before, and in a situation that I've never been in before. And in those days, you had to have, I think it's a minimum of 2 crew. So I literally took the minimum because it's quite expensive flying people out there, hiring cars and accommodation, etc. But it was amazing because they have 3 starts in Badwater. So one 6 o'clock, again, this is all slightly changed now, but one 6 o'clock, one 8 o'clock, one 10 o'clock. And the 10 o'clock is when you get all the faster runners doing it. And I managed to get myself a slot on the 10 o'clock start. Oh, right. So I was there with Scott. Yeah, I know, shock, horror. I was there with Scott Jurek, Ferg, who else was it? Pam Reed. Lisa Bratchen Smith. I mean, all these, big names. I remember thinking, and me, So there was a point in the race where the wave 10 headed off, and I was literally last. And usually I'd think, oh, don't really like this. And I just thought, maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter. This is, we're here. We've started. Off you go. But it is hot. I mean, the heat is indescribable. Yeah. It is like running in an oven. And even when it's windy, you think, oh, the wind will be fantastic. The wind is hot. So it dries out your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears. Everything is just so dry. So I did that race. I loved it. And I came back actually relatively unscathed. I was quite pleased with myself. So I went back in 2011. I was lucky enough again to get another place. And this time I wanted to, again, I wasn't going for some podium or anything, but I wanted to do the best that I could, get to the finish. And to do the double, you have to then climb Summit Mount Whitney, which is 4,500 meters, and then go all the way back to the start at the basin. Because the original race of Badwater was at the top. Right.
And that's more of a recognised thing, isn't it, the Badwater double? it's quite, not loads of people do it, but it's quite recognised, isn't it?
Yeah, there are quite a few people that do it every year. I mean, you'll probably get, I don't know, 3-4 people who do it every year. But so the race itself will stop at the portals, and then after that, then you take your number off. So if you're doing the double, it's nothing to do with the actual race itself. Right. You do that on your own steam.
Yeah.
But again, it was just fantastic because we had went up to the top of the mountain. We were lucky. We had fantastic weather. I mean, it was cold when you got. Again, the mountain had been closed for about 3 days to any hikers because they'd had all this. This is in July. This dump of snow. So we'd got crampons and everything just in case. And my plan was to start at midnight. But because of the snow, the guide said, no, we'll start at sort of 3-4 o'clock in the morning, which slightly didn't panic me, worried me because there was a time for a female that had done, and I can't remember what it was now, the fastest crossing. It's not a record or anything, it's just a sort of a time. So I was trying to beat that time. So to be delayed by that amount was I was sort of clock watching. Anyway, we took over 21 hours off the time that I was going for, so I was quite pleased with that. But you get all the people in the race as you're going back towards Badwater who are waving at you, and they cheer you on, and they give you all their kit and their water and stuff. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah. But do you find doing these doubles? Obviously it's a physical challenge, but you find it a mental battle as well, because I think when you're in a big race, you got people around you, and there's the infrastructure. And then when you turn round and head back, whether it's Spartathlon or Grand Union or Badwater, there's obviously a lot less people, aren't there? Hardly anybody going back the way.
Yeah.
So do you find it's more of a mental challenge as well, and you're having to set yourself to do that?
No, because I think, it's like any race, isn't it? So it's for example, if you were to enter, a 50-mile race, you're mentally prepared for a 50-mile race. But if somebody said to you, actually, I'm sorry, I got it wrong, you've got 100, you'd think, not going to do that. So it's the same. It's exactly the same with the doubles.
Yeah.
I know that I've got to do the race, and then I know that hopefully all going well, I'll turn around and I come back. And I don't mind the fact that there aren't lots of people. I have a support crew usually to do that, because obviously they've got to carry the water and stuff like that. And I try and do it. Didn't work quite as with double Spartathlon, but I try and do it within the time frame of the original race. So with my comrades, for example, you've got a 12-hour window. So I had to do the up run, and obviously then the race, but I had to do that within the time frame of the actual race itself.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Mimi, because I think that mental attitude of what on the start line. I'm very involved in the West Highland Way race, which is 95 miles, and we have the Highland Fling, which is 53 miles 8 weeks before, and a lot of people do the Fling, and then as a build up to the West Highland Way, and the amount of people who finish the Fling and think, there's no way I could run 42 miles now. But it's a different mindset, isn't it? When you set off for the Fling, you're finishing at Tyndrum. Whereas when you set off on the West Highland Way, the finish line is until Fort William. So it's having that mental focus, isn't it, right from the start? So I assume if you're doing a double Badwater, then that's what you set off to do from the start, isn't it? It's not a case of getting there and then think, I'll run back now. It's always been the plan, isn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, it's your mindset. And, it's as you just said, it's with anything. But if somebody said to me, if I'd done Badwater and the first time, and they'd said, well, Mina, you've got to go up to the top of Mount Whitney and then you've got to run all the way back, I would have, I won't tell you what I would have said to them. But, I mentally wouldn't have been in the right place to have done it.
Yeah. We got a comment from Lord S. She has to leave. So she says, I can't wait to hear the rest of the story. She'll listen to it later. You're such an inspiration. She's off for a rooking adventure with her son. So.
Fantastic. Enjoy.
Yeah, so she'll be back later and watch the rest of it. And then we've got a question from Jen Scotney. Hi, Mimi. You are so inspiring.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Are there any runners in particular that inspire you? Any runners that inspire you?
Again, that's not a fair question. Well, I'm just inspired by sort of anybody, really. I think it's the fact that we get off our backsides and we take that first step on a journey. And it doesn't matter whether you're an elite athlete or, you know, it doesn't matter what sort of runner you are. I think it's anybody having that courage just to take that first step. Because actually, if you think about it, just even you know, getting up and getting off the sofa and doing a 5K, actually, it can be quite difficult. My daughter did a 5K, and she's not a natural runner at all. And I couldn't have been prouder. So I think it's people like that, to me, I think are just quite extraordinary. To have that courage to keep going and to try. So I think that's the sort of person that inspires me.
Are you still doing coaching? Because I know you've done coaching at different times, haven't you? You've helped others.
Yes, no, I'm still coaching people. I love that.
Yeah, so is that something you enjoy, being able to see, you know, someone who's never run before achieving their first 5K? For there, as you say, that can be a massive achievement, isn't it?
Oh, yes. I mean, you know, if you go back to, well, you know, me starting out and running that mile, you know, it's, you know, I never thought it was possible. And, you know, if you'd looked at me at 36 and look at me as, you know, God, 57, nearly 58, you know, but the distances that I've run, I would never have thought that I could do that. So I think it just, you know, I think it's just people who have the courage to sort of to start their journey and see where they go. It doesn't have to be long distances stuff, you know. I've been watching Jen actually going off on her runs and swimming in the lakes. Oh, I don't know how she does that. I mean, I've been doing some open water swimming. Dear, she does it without a wetsuit. I'm very impressed, can I just say.
Yeah, make them tough up north.
Yeah. You definitely are. I'm Scott, actually, would you believe it? I've obviously lost my toughness somewhere.
The final photo I'd like to have a chat about, Mimi, is the one that you said Freedom Runners in South Africa. And it looks a beautiful location with lovely mountains around. So tell us a little bit about this one, please.
Yeah, no, that was lovely. Well, I was looking for a bit of an adventure, you know, because actually I do quite like doing, I mean, had I still been running now, I think I'd be doing more adventures than sort of racing. And so I was looking for something long distance that I could do. And friends in South Africa, because they all know I like South Africa, all said, you know, well, why don't you try the Freedom Trail in South Africa? Now, the Freedom Trail was originally set up, well, it still is, as a mountain bike race. And there are several different routes, but it goes from Pietermaritzburg to Paarl, just outside Cape Town. And I did it with another girl, Samantha Gash from Australia. And we did have a sort of a crew. We even had a bodyguard, actually. I didn't think a bodyguard was necessary, but we did go through some quite remote areas and townships and things, which was amazing. I mean, I have to say, you know, you see these, it was beautiful. But you see these children going to school every day. And, well, they probably go to school about 3 times a week. And they're always clean. They're always enthusiastic. They probably run about 10 kilometers just to get to school. And, you know, and then they get home, and before they can do any homework, they have to do their chores and, you know, extraordinary. But the countryside was just, breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking. It was the most amazing trip I've ever had. I just loved it. And we raised money for sort of an area in South Africa for about 400 girls where girls are sort of losing out on education. And again, similar actually, funnily enough, now in this country, because they can't afford sanitary pads and things, hygiene products. So we basically gave 400 girls sort of reusable sanitary hygiene products. So they could remain in education. So, you know, because the girls just get forgotten about, or their periods start and they then can't go to school. But it was the most amazing trip. And the South Africans, I mean, you know, it didn't matter where we were. We'd run through this beautiful remote village, you know, surrounded by these beautiful, brightly coloured rondavels, and you'd run past the church, and they on a Sunday, and they'd be singing their loudest voices, and then you'd go around the corner, and there'd be somebody completely pissed as anything in the corner, and you know, it was just it was an amazing country, wildlife everywhere. It was just wonderful. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
Wow. It's incredible. I mean, just in the 45 minutes we've been chatting, you know, the extremes of things that you've done, from the Arctic to the Badwater to something like this, you know, and we haven't even talked about Land's End to John O'Groats or running across islands. You know, you've been a lot of places, and you've run a lot of places, and it's the experiences you've got and the opportunities have been amazing, haven't they?
Oh, I've been so lucky. I have been so lucky, and I think, you know, that's one of the things that I love, and love about my running is the places that have taken me that I would never, you know, my husband would never take me to the Arctic to go on holiday. You know, and in fact, funny enough, he's a lot of the races. I remember in 2009, up until that point, running was my thing. It didn't involve my family or anything else. And I think Tim got a little bit fed up with this. So he said, right, I'm now going to start coming out and crewing for you. And I said, oh, God, really? You know, we have been married for 36 years. So, you know, I can say that. And I was really dreading it, actually, because my identity, I thought, well, I'm Mimi the runner. Yeah. I'm not Mimi, Tim's wife, or Mimi, the children's mother. You know, Mimi was me. And I thought that would disappear when Tim came out and crewed for me. And actually quite the reverse. It was fantastic. So, you know, but he didn't just crew for me. If I was in a stage race or a weekend race, he'd actually go and help the organisers and, you know, and do that. So he'd have nothing to do with me at all. And I think for me, that was fantastic to see. So he got really entrenched on that side. And he literally he's been all over the world with me, you know, to Namibia or, you know, to various other places. Yeah, I mean, he says, well, if you're going somewhere like that, you can't go without me. Yeah. So, and it's been lovely. I've loved it, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And we got a question from Karen Moorfield. She says, hi guys, the Comrades is on my bucket list. Did you prefer to run up or down? Clearly pros and cons to both.
If I was ever to go and do it again, I would do the up. I preferred the up, actually, funny enough. I ran, so when I did the double, I actually started in Durban. And so I did the up to Pietermaritzburg. I then had to get to the start, and I then did the down. And I prefer the up. To me, it was a nicer, yeah. And I think most people, for some reason, prefer the up. I think the down, you've got that long, is it fields, or is it that long stretch of sort of downhill where people literally go pelting down and they absolutely batter their quads, and then they've got nothing left for the rest. But it is a fantastic race, and when you run into that stadium, I don't know whether they've slightly changed where you finish now, but when you run into the finish line, oh my goodness, you run in and the emotion, you just want to cry. I do a lot of crying when I race, but you know, you just want to cry because people are there, they're cheering you in, you can, you know, you're running around the stadium, you can see it, you just, yes, I'm there, and you know, it's fantastic. Definitely go and do it. Yeah. It's a great race.
Yeah, I think it's one of those races that I don't think we quite appreciate just how big it is, do we? Because, you know, people say if you think of London Marathon, it's like that, but 10 times bigger, isn't it? It just takes over the country, doesn't it, for that time? And it's a national event, isn't it? In a way which I don't think maybe London Marathon gets somewhere close to it. But I just bits I've seen of it and people I've talked to, you just get the impression it just takes over.
Oh, no, totally. I mean, you know, South Africa, they start training in sort of, you know, November, December for it. And, you know, all the clubs will organise all the training is geared around comrades and the long runs and everything. Oh no, the whole country gets involved, and then it's all televised. Everybody for 13 hours is turned on their television.
Yeah, and I think it's the whole thing about the finish as well, isn't it? With the guy, with his back to the final thing, and people are sprinting to the line and they miss out by literally seconds. It's it all adds to the whole event, doesn't it?
It does, and you get that along the route as well. You've got various places along the route where you've got cut-offs.
Ah, right, okay.
And literally, and they go across the road, and everybody stopped. I mean, you just can't get past. I know it's really cruel, isn't it?
Yeah.
But people know that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's
and that's part of the history.
It's a great race.
That's part of the history and the tradition of the race, isn't it? And I think it builds up.
It is.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to the bar in Durban. If you do the down, you have to go to Durban the following day. There's a bar, I think it's called Joe's Bar, I'm not sure, on the beach. And anyway, you apparently have to have shots and things. Well, so I was taken to this, and of course, because I'd done the double, I was given double shots. I don't drink shots. Well, I don't think we need to go any further on that one, but it was quite fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mamit. We've got some great questions there. I would like to try and finish by 8 o'clock so we can get out and applaud the key workers. But I've got 5 questions that I've been asking everybody that I've interviewed over the last 10 weeks. And just no right or wrong, really, but just your preference on things. So are you okay to just to go through these?
Yeah.
So the first one is, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given?
I think the best piece of advice somebody gave to me was always run your own race, and listen to your body.
Yeah.
So that's what I've sort of always tried to do.
Yeah. Excellent. Have you got a favourite piece of kit?
Do you know, I do. It's the buff.
Oh, right, okay.
It is the most, I know, you probably weren't expecting that one. It is the most, I have used it since I started racing. It is the most versatile bit of kit. I've used it as a crop top for my head. I've used it in my face. I've used it as a mini skirt. It is the most fantastic bit of kit you could ever have in the entire world. So, you can use it winter, summer, doesn't matter, snow, desert. Great bit of kit.
I remember the first time I got one, because a lot of races give them out, don't they? So the nice mementos of the races as well. And then you can go on YouTube, whatever, and there's hundreds of different ways of folding it and using it, isn't there?
I know.
I think I've got about 3, really.
I tend to have mine just over my head because I can't stand having hair in my face when I'm running. It drives me mad.
But I must admit, particularly when it's hot, if you've got a buff and you can put it in a stream and then put it on your head as a headband, it's great, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah, and in America, I put ice cubes and things in it, I mean, again, there are so many things you can do. It is I think it should be an essential bit of kit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have you got a go-to food in a long ultra? Thinking of, I know obviously it's difficult when you're sort of trying to eat and get the calories in, but have you got a particular food that you know you can always stomach? No.
I'm quite bad at eating, actually. I'm quite bad. So if it's just me, I'll sort of, I don't know, I'll have a sandwich or something that I'll make, which will be, jam and peanut butter or something, and I'll cut into little bits or whatever. But if I have a crew, they'll always... They have to give you a selection of stuff. So no, I'm not very good at that one, I'm afraid. I don't touch gels and things like that. So if I have I do eat food, but it tends to be natural, proper food rather than gels. And I love grapes, actually. I do like grapes. Yeah. Nutritionally, probably got no value in at all, but I love them.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Now, this next one might be a little bit cruel in a sense, because I said, if you could only do one more ultra, which one would it be? But I'm sure you'd be happy just to do any ultra. But if
I'd be happy to do anything, yeah.
Yeah, if you weren't injured and you could run, is the one that you would it stands out that you would like to do again, or one that you haven't done that you would like to do?
I think I always wanted to. I mean, actually, funny enough, is in the UK. I mean, there are quite a few ultras that I are on my list. Because we all have bucket lists, don't we? but I did actually want to have a go at the Monarch's Way.
Right.
Because I liked the distance of that. It's 800 and something miles, isn't it? And I quite liked the challenge of that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Because we got some good races in the UK.
Yeah,
I think we forget that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure my first ultra was 2007. And when you think of the last 13 years, the amount of series and races that have started up, you know, in Scotland, there was maybe 4 or 5 when I started.
Yeah.
Now there's probably 40. Well, there was. Maybe not this year, but you know, it's just incredible. It's how many there are now. So we're spoiled for choice, aren't we? Which is great.
Exactly, which is lovely.
Yeah.
It's really nice, actually. Yeah, we're very lucky.
Yeah. And then the last question, Mimi, is do you have a mantra to keep you going when things get tough? Are you one of these people that like to repeat things, or have you got a particular mantra to help you in a long, tough race?
I don't have a mantra as such. I think if I'm going through a really bad time in a race, I tend to visualise my family. Okay. They're never there, I might just add, at the finish line. And they're all there, and they're holding my medal, and I'm running towards them with my arms held up like that. So that's what I sort of picture. But there are other occasions when actually it's pathetic, isn't it? But I just burst into tears because I find that sometimes it's a great way just to, it's not because I'm upset or somebody said anything. It is literally, I find it quite a release of energy or release of emotions. So I don't have anything that I say to myself. I mean, I talk a lot to myself. So I will say to myself, you know, for goodness sake, pull yourself together. It was your idea. So should we just put one foot in front of the other and keep going? Yeah. But it's the visualization, I think, that I tend to do mostly. And if I have that in my head, then that tends to work quite well for me.
Yeah. Great. Well, they're really good, really great answers, and they've given us things to take away. So thank you very much. So we're coming up to 8 o'clock, so we'll call it a night there. Thank you so much for those that are watching live and those that might be watching in the next few days. Yeah. So thank you so much, Mimi. I've really enjoyed it. And just to let people know, next Tuesday, I've got Nikki Spinks on to interview, and then next Thursday, James Elson, who's the race director for the Centurion races. So I'm looking forward to chatting to them as well. And Jen has just put on saying, great interview as ever, John. Loved hearing from Mimi. Thanks a lot. So that's
Jen, thank you.
So that's a nice one to finish. So thank you very much, everybody, and stay safe, and I'll speak to you next week. And thank you very much, Mimi.
Thank you, John. Thank you.